A very good afternoon to our Father Principal, our Vice Principal, Mrs. Shobha Miranda, Coordinator of Academics, Mr. A.K. Das, Coordinator of Activities, Mrs. K.C. Maya, fellow teachers, and students. Today, this is the first webinar session of the year, and I would request Maya ma'am to please start it with a prayer and blessings for all of us. Ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your divine guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion. Together, we come before you and ask you for your help for the listeners' careers. God, our children need you. We ask for wisdom and direction regarding their career. They will soon come to a fork in the road and will need to make a decision. Lord, may this meeting be an enriching experience. May the right direction, right option, and right choice rise to the top of their consciousness. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am, for the beautiful prayer. A very happy new year to everybody. Today, I would say teachers spend valuable time guiding and advising students. They are also our role models who wish success for all the students through every walk of life. I'm sure with the support and guidance from your teachers and parents, you students have chosen a stream of your choice and aptitude. But just choosing a stream is not sufficient. One should also know about different career choices and emerging careers based on the stream you have all selected. These are rapidly changing times, and a lot of queries, questions are there in everyone's mind. Policy changes are taking place at the university level, at the school level, and some things are not yet clear to all of us. So keeping such queries in mind, today we have among us a professional from the Pratham Group, Mr. Saurabh Nanda. Mr. Saurabh is an alumnus of NIIT Jalandhar and a master's in clinical psychology. He worked as a software engineer in FinServe India. His passion for education and counseling drew him away from the corporate life, and he has traveled the country counseling students, parents, and educators about various career prospects in India and abroad. He has advised and guided students towards career paths over the last 4 years for study options, and they are successfully pursuing undergrad and postgrad in top universities across the globe. He is also an English language trainer. He manages 2 blogs and Facebook pages where he writes about his experiences and guides students for understanding the admissions game. We welcome you, sir, and look forward to your expertise for our students. Now, I would request all the students to attentively participate in the session. All questions and doubts will be taken up at the end by Mr. Saurabh. Students can type them in the chat box. All mics will be muted during the session and chat box will be enabled after the talk. Over to you, Mr. Saurabh. Welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so glad to be here at St. Xavier's, and I see, more than 200 students joining in. That's a wonderful, number to see right in the beginning of the year. So I'm very glad that, we're doing this today. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year to all of you. This particular session will be taken in 2 parts. All right. The first part is going to be a small presentation that I'm going to just share with you. But the major part will be the second part. It's also my favorite part, wherein I get to answer your questions. All right. And since we have 216 people in the in the meeting today, I think there are going to be a lot of questions, and I expect a lot of them as well. So please do not hesitate in asking questions. Now, how are we going to ask questions? Please put your questions in the chat box. I would please request all of you not to use the chat box or anything else. Don't communicate amongst yourselves. It would be better if you ask the questions over there so that I can get to them. Now, I will get to the questions from the earliest asked to the latest asked. So if you ask a question earlier, it will be answered earlier. All right. Okay, so let me begin by sharing my screen. Is this visible, ma'am? All right. Is this visible?
Yes, sir.
Right. All right, guys. So we're going to discuss careers in humanities and commerce today, right? And for a lot of students in humanities and commerce, 12th is a very pivotal point. Why? Because a lot of us believe in getting into universities where 12th standard marks are very, very important. Right. Science students, though, they are going for entrance examination and all that. Okay, fine. I don't I'm not really interested. For me, 12th becomes important because we've all read the news, the cutoffs and everything. I need these many marks. These itself are really crazy amount of marks, and really special people get those. But most of us are not there. Now, some of you, a lot of you will be preparing really hard and everything, and probably you will reach here. Even then, in my eyes, you are super achievers. But then the problem is, how do we get into that university that we're really looking for? Correct? And that is where planning comes into picture. Now, why am I talking about all these things, before starting about career gyan and all that? Because this is the immediate step after school. And a lot of students are from 12th also. So that's why. All right. Now, DU are colleges like Delhi University. They are primarily focused on 12th standard marks, although this year there are very strong indications that CUCET will be implemented soon, which means there's an entrance examination even for seats in Delhi University and other central universities across India. When will that happen? How will that happen? Well, we'll have to see for that. But 12th is still not going away. The marks in board exams are still not going away. Now, ultimately, what is our aim over here? Our aim over here is to get into a good college, right? And I'll tell you about all the careers, but the story is similar for all the careers. That's why, college-wise, let's begin. There's a different perspective I want to show you. Ultimately, we want to get into a good college. Now, tell me what exactly is a good college? All right, what exactly is a good college? Now, we've heard of all these beautiful names, very, very popular, very, very, sought after names, LSR and KMC and North Campus colleges, Venki and all these, St. Stephen's. And then at the same time, we've also heard of some other colleges which are also considered very good. Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies in Delhi University, IIM Indore, Rohtak, Bodhgaya, Ranchi, Jammu, National Law Universities, then technical universities like IITs, NITs. In Delhi, especially, there is DTU, Delhi Technical University. For medicine, we know AIIMS and so on. Then if we move out of Delhi NCR, then we also see in Mumbai, there are Mumbai, Pune, there is Nasi Monji, Symbiosis, and so on and so on and so forth. We've all heard of these amazing colleges. They're also good colleges. The left-hand side are primarily merit-based. The right-hand side are a combination of aptitude and merit. All right, so first you need to understand this difference before we move on to actually career options. Okay, so what did we understand so far? If we are focusing only on 12th standard merit, that will be a mistake. If we are only focusing on aptitude tests, that will also be a mistake, because both are important. If you focus on both, then definitely you're getting into a good college. And that is what the ultimate game is over here, isn't it? Now, why having backups is important? Well, I don't think I need to tell you this enough. I'm just going to show you a small glimpse. Okay. Boards, change in application process keeps happening. We cannot only depend on one set of marks, whether it's board or aptitude. Then we want to get into a professional course, top colleges, international options are also open. So multiple plans are important because we need to cover all these things. At the same time, you will also see COVID-19 issue. The third wave, we are, I think, probably living inside it right now. Results, when will they happen? When will they come, and so on? Then what was the result of CBSE? This was the result. Some 39,000 students scored 95% in 2020. All right, 160,000 close to students scored more than 90%. Some union territories had the best scores. 89% people passed. Divyanshi from Lucknow scored 100%, and so on. Then cutoffs, these were some of the cutoffs. St. Stephen's, and we've all read about this. Then if we leave CBSE and talk about other boards, ICSE, state boards, the thing is, whichever board you belong to, you're competing with another board. And that is the kind of competition. That is why we need to have multiple options over here. Okay. Now, there are some new age career, aptitude-based career options for sure. And why am I talking about this? I'll tell you. So you might have heard of these entrance tests: SAT, CLAT for law, DUJAT for the management entrance, IPMAT for IIM, JIPMAT for IIM, both Gaya and Jammu, BJMC for mass communication, hotel management, BBA, BCom, ECOFIN. Different universities have different entrance tests. You know what is common in all this? In all these entrance examinations, do you know what they ask? They ask you 10th level English, 10th level math, GK, and one odd other subject which you can prepare easily. So all the 10th standard students, especially, you need to pay attention over here. The thing is, if you pass 10th with good marks, you're already eligible in India. You're already eligible to become a lawyer, to become a manager, to become a journalist or an advertiser, copywriter, YouTuber, to get into hotel management, become a chef, become a hotelier, become a club manager, become a golf course manager, whatever you feel like, Airbnb maybe, to go and become, you take up anything related to economics and get into that. And this is not it. I'm going to talk about more stream neutral later on. But just based on 10th, you're eligible to do all these things. So first thing that we need to establish today is do not ignore your 10th, because the English and math that you've studied there is going to not only help you in undergrad, but at the same time, post-graduation. You want to do MBA later on because, a lot of Indians, they figure out, okay, fine, what I've got stuck in the wrong career option. Let me wash away all my sins by, taking a dip in the MBA Ganga. All right. So then they go for CAT. And if they want to go abroad, GMAT or Masters GRE. If you're going for civil services, then CSAT, Bank PO, RBI, Railway. They all have a small portion, or the entire test itself is based on 10th level English, 10th level math. The interview process will be based on GK. So first of all, you understand this, guys. This is the world that we're living in today. That based on 10th, you're already eligible for some 10, 12 wonderful career options, first of all. So all of you who had a lot of anxiety right now, a lot of confusion, boss, what will happen to my career? I am not sure. I am not sure that I've taken this stream now, but I'm still not sure whether I'll be performing well in this. What will happen after 12th? Which college am I getting into? All that anxiety, first of all, let that go, because you're already eligible to do all these things. Even if you sit for any of these tests, you're eligible to do so. Okay, good. Yes, there are some nuances in the test. I mean, for example, Delhi University and IIMs, Narsi Monji included, they still want you to have higher maths in 11th and 12th. But then most of the other tests, they only depend on what you studied in class 10th. You just need to practice on it. All right. I hope this part is clear. Now, some of the popular commerce careers are this. All right. As I said, I want to focus more on question answer, and I have this particular presentation at 300 slides, so I can get into each of these careers in a lot of detail, but I just want you to understand a gist of it, a summary of it first. Some of the popular commerce careers are these: management, which can be finance, business economics, HR, admin, operations, marketing, advertising, organizational behavior, and so on. There are 50, 60 different streams you can get into just through management, data analytics, supply chain, logistics. There's a lot of things that you can do. Economist. A lot of you are highly interested in economics. Great. Now, what do I do after that? You need to understand, to become an expert in a field will give you a title like economist. So, when you have the suffix like IST, economist, psychologist, That means you've become an expert. But who do you call an expert in a particular field? An expert is who has spent years in understanding that field and in understanding a particular area in that field itself. So a research scholar usually is called an expert. So if you are aiming to becoming an economist and working with the World Bank, working with investment banks, working with the policymakers, working with organizations like UN or big NGOs or think tanks and so on and so such, like Raghuram Rajan and Urjit Patel and all these people, they are all economists. They've all done their PhD. So bachelor's, master's, and PhD, that is what you're looking at. Okay. And when you're going for a subject like economics and you're aiming till PhD, then you need to understand math is going to be an integral part of it. So you cannot hate maths. I'm sure a lot of you have not taken maths with commerce with maths. That's okay. Commerce without maths is okay, but you cannot hate numbers. You need to understand that, because sooner or later you will have to study that if you are going to pursue a career in economics. Coming to stockbroking. So nowadays, though, everyone is trying to invest in the markets. The market is on a bull run. Last 2 months were a little correction. It went down. The bull run is supposed to go like this for the next 4.5 years. 4.5 years, the market is going to increase in size. Now, who is a stockbroker? If the market is increasing in size, I have some money, I have 100 rupees and I want to, make my 100 rupees, 400 rupees after the end of 4 years. How and where do I go to buy the stocks? Somebody has to be there who can sell me those stocks. That person is a stockbroker. So stockbroker is a very generic term. There are wealth managers, there are mediatories, there are platforms where you can buy things like Zerodha, Grow. There are organizations which not only advise you and educate you, like Money Control, Share Khan and all these, but there are people who will call you up and tell you, this stock is going up. We think this is going to really sell. Why don't you invest in this? Those people are stockbrokers. And what do you need to do in order to become a stockbroker? Ideally, anybody can become a stockbroker. You don't need any qualification. But how will you know what stock is good or bad? That means you have to study about stocks and markets. That means you need to study commerce, you need to study economics, you need to study markets, which you can do in multiple ways. Through management route, through pure economics, through commerce. You can choose multiple ways of doing that. There are certifications available and so on. If you have any questions, please keep on asking in the chat box. You can type your question right now, okay? Then CA. CA is Chartered Accountant. CS, Company Secretary. There's another thing, Cost Accountancy. Then there is Actuarial Sciences. In North America, CA is called CPA, all right? These are all professional certifications. Do you need a particular degree for this? No. Technically, no. But you have to study separately for these. CA means you're going to be managing accounts of big organizations, high net worth individuals, accounts of banks, accounts of separate parts of an organization, accounts in the government. There's an entire organization which manages just accounts for different government organizations. So how do I go about it? You're after your 10th standard, you're actually eligible to start studying for CPT and even appear for the test. But mostly people do it after 12th. So it has two parts, CPT and IPCC, multiple tests you have to complete. You also have to go for an articleship, which means an internship, apprenticeship under a CA or in a CA firm for at least a year. So usually it takes around 5.5 years, but it's highly competitive. Less than 5% of people who appear for the CA finals, IPCC finals, they clear CA every year, less than 5%. So it's a very competitive test, all right? Company secretary is like marrying accounts and law and a little bit of management together. Somebody who can tell managers in a company how to set up new things which are legally compliant with the law of the land. That job is primarily done by a company secretary. Again, multiple tests, separate qualification, no particular degree needed. Actuarial sciences, you need to love maths for actuaries and CA. If you do not love maths, you cannot go beyond a certain limit. It usually takes around 8 to 9 years to get becoming an actuary, and there are multiple tests you have to clear. They earn a lot of money, no doubt about it, but you need to be ready for that 8 to 9 year journey. Now, whenever I say this, whenever I give a number to the journey, everyone is just becomes very anxious. They're like, 8 years I will take to earn a decent living. The world is such a complex place right now. If you want to start earning money in any field, you have to be good at it. You have to understand the world, and it takes you 7 to 10 years anyhow. Whether it is medicine, whether it is engineering, whether it is economics, management, company secretary, actuarial sciences, you take your pick. So please be ready for that journey. You need to understand 7 to 10 years, though they are given. You'll do bachelor's, master's, some certification, some work experience, go back to education. Only then you'll end up in a good place, a place which will really make you comfortable in life. Actuarial scientists are those people who actually calculate the premium that you have to pay for your insurance. And it's a very complex calculation because they look at your age, your health, your city, your work, your past history, and so on. So it's a very complex calculation. That's why you need to love maths. Working in banking, financial analysis, and so on, all these are very, very popular commerce-related careers. As I said, there are multiple more options in commerce. These are the popular ones. If you have any questions, guys, please put it in the chat box. Okay, moving on to a gist of humanities careers. Okay, so law itself is such a diverse and versatile field that you can get into 50 different directions, if not more, after law. Why I like law a lot is because, especially law from national law universities, which you can get into after taking CLAT. You can get into corporate law. Companies come on campus and they hire you. They give you, on an average, a lawyer from NLUs earns more money than an engineer. Okay. So you get to work with international companies, sit in big metros. It is not the same as, what we have all seen in movies like Jolly LLB and so on. Law today is very different. Now, once you get into law, then you get a law degree. You can work as a corporate lawyer. At the same time, what have you studied in law? You've studied Constitution of India, polity of India, economics, and so on and so forth. And what are these required for? These are required for civil services. So you can see on parallel, I've written civil services over there. There is a reason why I included it in humanities, although anybody can go for civil services. Why I included this in humanities is because law directly lets you towards civil services. The syllabus is similar, a pair for civil services, but just understand less than 1,000 seats are available every year. On an average, around 1,000 vacancies are coming out for IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, railways, forest service, and so on and so forth. So the competition is high. People take 3 to 4 attempts. Let's say you do not get through. Then what? You have a backup option in corporate law. Secondly, because you're a lawyer, you can appear for judicial services, which are again like civil services and much more prestigious than IAS also. So lower court, and after the age of 35, higher court maybe. You can also appear for state services. So law sets you up like nothing. If you are looking for working in corporate law, intellectual property, criminal law, civil law, so on and so forth, or you want to get into government services, civil services. Coming to the next option, mass communication, or as the world over, it is called media studies. In India, 3 primary streams are taught. Journalism. So if you are one of those people who have independent creative ideas and want to get into journalism and want to say out loud what you have to say, journalism is the right way to go, especially new media. New media means YouTube, podcasts, Twitter, microblogging, content writing. This is all new media. Mass communication is the right course for that. It is one of the most versatile courses because it not only gives you knowledge in philosophy and politics and law, economics, everything, science also if you want, but at the same time, it gives you hard skills, film production, editing, photography, graphic designing. You study all these things properly and formally as part of the curriculum. That is why you can not only go into journalism At the same time, you can get into filmmaking, you can get into advertising, you can write, you can make ads, you can make music if you want. Public relations. There are 30 public relations professionals for every one journalist in the US. Do you understand what that means? That means there are less number of journalists and there are 30 people who are working for big companies who are managing the media. That is how big companies survive today. Public relations is a very sought after job. It's just on the other side. So you're not reporting about an organization, you're actually giving out the reports for an organization. All right. So that is another upcoming field. India is a growing economy, multiple job offers over here. Coming to education, you can always get into academics based on any particular subject that you studied in humanities. Remember, any subject that you study in humanities is a vocational subject. Psychology, sociology, anthropology, there are multiple specific fields that you can get into. So research is one area, academia is another. Language courses. It doesn't really matter what you studied in 11th and 12th year. You already have English, you can go for English honors. At the same time, if you want to study any Indian language, Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, whatever, you can study that also. All universities have that. Apart from that, if you want to study foreign languages, JNU, for example, has bachelor's programs in foreign languages, which are for East Asian languages like Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Mandarin actually. So then you also have courses for Arabic and Russian and other European languages like Spanish, German, French, and I think Italian as well. So you can go and study that as well. Hospitality, travel, tourism. It is one of the largest sectors of employment in the country. Yes, COVID gave a very, made a very big impact towards it. But you also know how much tourism is happening even right now when we are sitting in the third wave. That is the potential it has, and India is growing in double digits every year for tourism. A lot of people are needed in the industry, and it's a very glamorous job. If you ask me how much money they earn, well, if you become a general manager of a hotel like Taj Vivanta, and you become a general manager around the age of 40, 42, 43, your package is around 45 lakh rupees. This is current rate. Okay. Design doesn't really matter on what you study in 11th and 12th. You have to study separately for the entrance examination. So apart from architecture, which requires science, interior design, footwear design, accessory design, product design, fashion design, all these design courses have their own entrance examination, which test your design aptitude in various ways. So you have to prepare for that. UCED is a very famous test, if you've heard of it. Psychology, no background needed. You can go and become a psychologist. But as I said, when you have that suffix IST, that means you're an expert. That means you have to go for PhD. Okay. Okay. Now coming to some other stream neutral options already. So commerce and humanities have some stream neutral options which are available for both. Management was in commerce, but it's here as well. Law, mass comm, hospitality, design, languages, psychology, we've discussed. Digital marketing, web and app development. From 2020 to 2021, the growth in the digital marketing, content creation, and social media marketing space in India was 58%. The industry grew by 58%. That is the option. You can start working on that right now. A lot of students I know, they start earning money in 10th itself. Upskill yourself. You can then go for graduation, make it better, and really become a professional. Social work is a huge field, and it is becoming more and more professional in India. Anybody from governments to top MNCs and their corporate social responsibility programs to big organizations like the Nudge Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, United Nations agencies, they're all looking for people who have background in social work. And social work, again, is huge. Social work means you have to make the society better. So you can make water better, sanitation, you can make education better, you can make justice better. Any direction you work in, it's okay. Huge field. You want to help people. Good work is available. Good money is also available. All right. Okay. Before I move on, let me just check. Ma'am, should we go to questions now or should I continue this? I think I'll take a few questions. What do you say?
Sir, if they have already raised some questions, you may do that in between. Otherwise,
Ma'am, I think they have raised quite a few questions. Let me just start.
before they pile up.
Yeah. Okay. So first question, sir, sometimes students get to know what to pursue as a career in life like IAS, but the motivation to keep going lost sometimes in between. How to maintain that? Kindly explain. Very, very deep question, Aditi. Thank you so much for asking that. So the motivation will only come when the goal is clear, right? That clarity of goal is, well, important, because if this is the goal over here, you have to work towards that. So the path needs to be clear as well. But while walking the path, sometimes you get distracted. Why am I studying this subject? What is going to happen? And you hear stories from 100 different people. Then you're going this way and that way. What is the solution to this? The solution to this is getting absolute clarity, reducing the risk, understanding all the other options available. And for that, I will recommend that you please get yourself assessed, Aditi, from a psychologist, psychometrician, and they will give you more clarity. They will give you more information. Anyhow, keep yourself a little updated so that you know that whatever path you've chosen is the right one for you, and you don't necessarily need to go here and there. What is an aptitude test? Okay, wow. Well, an aptitude, what exactly is aptitude? Aptitude is the natural talent that you're born with, something that you get from your parents, something that has been there in your family, from parents, from father's side and from mother's side. Those genetic talents that you have, they are called aptitudes. And these aptitudes start manifesting themselves. They start showing themselves at the age of 9, 10 itself. And they get frozen around the age of 14. Let me give you an example. A lot of you might be naturally gifted to learn newer languages very quickly, right? That is linguistic aptitude. A lot of you, when you go out with your friends to do some party, pani puri party, golgappa party, some of you are able to do a lot of mental maths and mental calculations at that. You owe me 7 rupees, you owe me 5 rupees, and so on and so forth. That is numerical aptitude. You might not score very well in maths. That's a separate issue altogether, but your brain likes numbers a lot. Then a lot of you can imagine a lot of things, visually without even them being there. For example, if I say, imagine blue color Harry Potter going on a golden dragon and, eating eggs. So probably you can see that very vividly right now, right? That is spatial aptitude. And there are multiple aptitudes. Currently, the, work I do involves around 10 aptitudes that we test. All right. These get frozen by the age of 14, 15, which is 9th standard roughly in India. I hope that answers your question. Aptitude test tests your aptitude. Sir, what is the scope of BCA and MCA? I have commerce with maths. Great scope. Now, industry standards, if you have an MCA degree, that is considered equivalent to a computer science engineering degree. Okay. Primarily in BCA and MCA, you are going to deal with software development, not a lot of work with hardware. Computer science engineering deals with software, hardware, material science, electronics, a little bit of project management also, but very little. Whereas BCA, MCA primarily focuses on software applications, mobile application development. Okay. So you will not get a lot of knowledge about the other aspects. Most of the jobs in the IT industry are software development jobs. So BCA, MCA is a very good option. Okay. Can you suggest some good colleges for entrepreneurship and what's the criteria to get in them? Very interesting question, Jatin. So technically speaking, there is no degree required for entrepreneurship, right? If you see a problem in the society and or you have a solution, that's it. That is what makes you an entrepreneur. All right. But in order to understand entrepreneurship, there are very few colleges which offer entrepreneurship as a discipline at bachelor's level. There are a few colleges, like some liberal arts colleges definitely offer that. But one of the best ways to get into entrepreneurship, ultimately, you're going to be managing a business, right? So why don't you study business? And why don't you study business from the best possible places? Because most of these best possible management schools, like IIM Indore, they have amazing incubation centers or entrepreneur well, e-cell basically. So entrepreneurship cells, wherein if you have an entrepreneurship idea, the people inside IIM will mentor you, get you money also, so that you can start your own company. So a better way of going towards entrepreneurship is going through management. All right. But technically speaking, no particular degree. All right. Good afternoon, respected sir. Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to pursue corporate law after 12th. So if I take commerce with maths instead of humanities, will it be an added advantage afterwards, as I will be dealing with business related issues? Sure. Why not, Pranav? But I want you to take subjects which you enjoy studying. Law, as I said, is a very diverse field. There, 40% of students in NLSIU Bangalore, which is the top law college in India, 40% of them in 2018 were science students. And if you look at the future of jobs, and if you look at the future, it's all technology based. So you need a little bit of science knowledge also, right? At the same time, you also need business knowledge. At the same time, you also need to understand problems that people face. So you also need a lot of humanities knowledge. Every kind of knowledge is required in law. So study the subjects which you enjoy studying. Don't think too much about commerce or humanities if you're going to pursue law, if you're focused on that. Because A, law doesn't say that you have to come from a particular stream. B, every particular subject can be extended into law and made into a separate entity. I hope that answers your question. 10th level English maths is what is required for law. Okay. Our school provides entrepreneurship subject with humanities. Is it beneficial? Oh, absolutely. I would have loved to have entrepreneurship in my school if it were available at that time. Why? Because entrepreneurship curriculum involves a lot of shift in perspective. Okay. They will start showing you things and you will start thinking about things from a problem and solution perspective, from design thinking perspective. And critical reasoning, problem solving, these are 21st century skills, as mentioned by McKinsey and Harvard and PricewaterhouseCoopers, no matter which report you read. Problem solving is what entrepreneurship is. Critical reasoning helps you in problem solving. Why not? Entrepreneurship is an amazing subject. Please go ahead with it. Sir, since ICAI has come up with the provision to give exams just after class 12th, but all entrance exams of colleges are also held this month. So only how to cope with all these, as saving 6 months for CA could be beneficial in future if we gave CA exam in May. Okay. So thank you for that question, Daksh. You don't need to necessarily worry about these things. 6 months in the span of your entire life is not a very big time, first of all. Secondly, focus more on what is immediately needed. CA exams are flexible, but a lot of other exams are not. So prioritize those exams over CA. All right, first of all. Secondly, 6 months in CA, nobody counts 6 months. 5.5 years is a minimum time for CA. People take a lot of time. So don't worry too much into it. Don't worry too much about it. Your planning is quite sorted. Focus on the exams which are not flexible. Okay. Sir, IAS or judge, which one is preferable? Well, the answer is, how much do you want to study? Because studying for a judge, trust me, is twice the effort as studying for IAS. You will have to become a philosopher. You will have to become a sociologist. You will have to become an economist, all at the same time. Okay. So judicial services is not at all easy. Somebody who is very academically oriented should appear for judicial services. I know people who have completed their law from NLSI Bangalore, Nalsar, Hyderabad, and NLU Jodhpur, which are, these are top law colleges. And they've spent 4 or 5 years studying for judicial services, still have not been able to clear it. So if you're very academically oriented, then take up judicial services. Okay. But it's an extremely rewarding career, no doubt about it. The respect and prestige and power that you get, but it comes with its own restrictions also. All government services are like that. You cannot be very socially visible. You cannot hang out like other normal people because you're in public life, and your image is the government's image. So you have to be very careful about that. Okay, sir, what are the career options after studying psychology? Vidushi, psychology in India gives you three different streams or directions, I would say. For example, I took up clinical psychology. Clinical psychology deals with a lot of cases which are, clinically diagnosed from the medical field, from psychiatry. And when you want to work with those patients, and then clinical psychology is interesting. You will work with hospitals, you will work with rehab centers, and so on and so forth. Then is counseling psychology, wherein you become a counselor. A counselor can be at a school level and at a rehab center, at an NGO. Basically, you're counseling to solve people's problems. They don't have any clinical ailments as such. So mentally they are okay, and there is nothing medically or clinically wrong with them, but they need counseling, they need support of another human being. And counseling is one of the biggest career options in the next 10 years. You will see a lot of counselors. India needs a lot of counselors. Okay. Third is organizational psychology, wherein you can get into the corporate life. You can work in marketing, advertising, human resources, organizational behavior, corporate governance, policy making, and so on. So that is organizational behavior. To be feasible as a career, psychology in India requires at least that you go for a master's degree, at least. But my personal recommendation to all people who are going to be working in core psychology, please go for a PhD. I don't work in core psychology. I work in education psychology. For me, master's was enough. All right. Although I do want to go for a PhD, this is just the academic part of me. Hopefully, in the next coming years, I'll find some time to go for a PhD program, and some university will be flexible enough for me. But please go for a PhD as soon as possible. All right, you'll love it. Okay, sir, I want to be a cricketer in future, and also I'm working upon it. So, sir, please advise for my future things, like which stream I should take, and from class 10th. Okay, Akshat. So if you want to be a cricketer, then cricket has to be your focus. Please take subjects which are not a burden for you. Which means what? It can be anything. It can be science, commerce, or humanities. Different students have a different liking for different subjects. All right. For some, humanities can be extremely difficult. For some, science can be extremely difficult. Choose the subjects which you are comfortable with, so that it's not an added burden on you. All right. You'll have to give more time to cricket, your diet, your training. So it would be better that you take some external coaching for cricket whenever available, however available. College, obviously, when you start, playing properly, then you will be participating in under 17 tournaments, representing state and all, and they have their own career trajectory. They will take it as and when you perform. However, let's say, nothing great has happened so far. So you need to choose a college which has a good cricket team, so that you can play at university level. All right. And that university level can again take you to professional cricket. Again, doesn't really matter if you are not able to play cricket as a player all your life. If you still want to work in the cricket industry or sports industry in general, there are a lot of options. You can become a coach, you can become a physiotherapist, a fitness coach, a peak performance coach. Sports psychology is a very upcoming field. Then you can also get into talent management, wherein you help crack deals for promotions and all that with cricketers. You can become a talent scout. There are multiple things. If you're good at maths, data analytics, you all have seen, right, run rate and number of wickets per balls, and all these statistics are there on cricket matches nowadays. Who is doing that? Somebody is doing that, right? There are in fact whole teams doing that. So they are all data analytics. So multiple ways of getting into the world of cricket. All right. Is fashion designing a risky career? Every career is a risky career, yeah. Which career doesn't have risk? Fashion designing is not, I would not say that it's risk-free. No career is risk-free. But yes, it has its own nuances. It has its own culture. And if you are, if you're going to compare fashion industry with other industries like the IT industry or education or something else, then you will find that fashion industry is slightly more hectic, slightly more stressful. Okay. But a lot of people enjoy that kind of life, and that is why they're there. If you're a creative person, if you want to make new designs, if you want to change people's clothes and give them fresh, ways of dressing themselves, go ahead. Don't think about it being a risky career. Now, risky has so many connotations. Will I earn enough money? Is it, how much time will I take to become famous and rich and so on? Well, every career has a different thing. As I said, you will take 7 to 10 years to become an expert and to be at a comfortable position in your life, no matter what career you choose. 7 to 10 years. Okay, what is the process for English teacher? Well, depends on which part of which classes you teach. As an English teacher, if you're talking about the school ecosystem, if you want to be an English teacher at a college level, then obviously more studies, more degrees that you have, the better. And if you want to be a corporate trainer, if you want to be a teacher in the tuition industry, I would recommend that please at least go for a master's. All right. It's not that people who have bachelor's in English literature or English honors do not get jobs. Of course, they do get jobs. But if you're really serious about becoming a teacher, try and invest more time into your education and as much as you can. All right. So at least a master's is definitely recommended. Opens up all the avenues, no matter what level of school we are talking. Obviously, there will be certain, certifications and entrance examinations you need to pass in order to be eligible to become a professor or a teacher at various levels. But at least a master's degree you should go for. Can you tell more about entrepreneurship and some good colleges for it? Okay, I think I answered that question. So can you tell again about designing? Okay, so Shreya, design can be approached in multiple ways. We've already discussed about fashion design. Let me also tell you about product design. You might have heard of colleges like NID Ahmedabad. Now NID has multiple branches as well. For example, if you see this cup, somebody has designed the shape of this cup. Somebody has designed the aesthetics of this cup, right? So there are aesthetic design areas. And then there are functional design areas. So the more functional you go, the more technical you have to be. That means if you have to make a product which is usable also, then more technical knowledge will be needed of materials, of shapes, of drawing, and so on. If you go more towards aesthetical side, then less technical knowledge, more design sense and more creativity is needed. So when it comes to accessory design, when it comes to even footwear design, fashion design, interior design, there is more aesthetic knowledge as compared to functional knowledge needed. All right. I'm not saying that there is no functional technical knowledge needed over there. I mean, for example, I know a lot of interior designers, they think that, this paint looks gorgeous. And then they don't even think of what wall you're talking about, because the wall might get super hot in summers and super cold in winters. And if you put a very expensive painting on top of it, that painting will be ruined because the paint will, emit all kinds of gases and everything. So interior designers need to think about those things as well. However, still more aesthetically needed. Then when you talk about industrial design, for example, designing a phone, designing a piece of furniture, designing a lampshade, designing a bookcase, all these designs as well, they come in industrial design. Okay. Different designs, different design careers have different colleges, and you will be surprised to know 60% of architects do not work in architecture. A lot of them get into interiors, a lot of them get into graphic design, photography, and so on. So, there is no such, I would say, barrier to get into any of these design areas. They don't depend on anything that you study in 11th and 12th. Prepare for all. Why not? All right. Okay. Future in criminal psychology. All right. There is good future in criminal psychology. As I said, I finished my clinical psychology in 2015. I was working in Sir Gangaram Hospital in the Department of Psychiatry over there. And, at that time, we understood, we all saw how much people needed help, but we also saw how people were just not ready to accept that they needed help. Cut to 2020, and you've all seen on Instagram, everyone is talking about mental health, isn't it? Just in 5 years, people have accepted that mental health is an important thing. I'm not saying that all small cities in India and everyone in your family has accepted it. No, but people are open to it. 5 years more, you will see getting therapy, getting counseling becomes a very, very mundane, regular thing for at least top 15 cities in India. 10 years down the line, you will see that the 55 million plus cities that we have in India today, they will all have openly, easily available therapy centers. That is the future of psychology. And criminal psychology will also advance because our police forces are becoming bigger. They need more professionals. Law services, legal services are becoming bigger. They need more professionals. I have a passion for learning finance, and for that, I want to pursue BBA in finance. Okay. So my question is, could you please tell me the top 5 colleges, universities for course only on the basis of placement? Well, the top BBA course for finance based on placement will be BFIA in Delhi University. Okay. But you can also go for BMS and, make a major in finance. Then IIMs, Narsi Monji, these are the best places for finance right now at your level. What is the general syllabus for the aptitude test for entrance of any college? Well, the general syllabus for non-science, non-design aptitude tests, non-science, non-design is 10th level math, 10th level English, GK. Even the SAT test, I did not focus a lot on during the presentation, but SAT also you can take after 10th, and SAT is accepted in American universities, Singapore, Middle East, some universities, Indian universities, some universities in Germany. IIM Indore accepts SAT if you have 1400 plus. Liberal arts universities accept it. What does SAT ask? 10th level English, 10th level math. In fact, if you crack the English of SAT, then all Indian exams you will crack anyhow. All right. So that's a good practice session. Imagine getting an entrance exam score even before you've completed your 12th. So that's an advantage. So plan it like that. Okay. GK is important. That is something you have to study. Sir, can we go for ACCA? I don't understand what is ACCA. Sorry. I don't want to assume, so I'm just going to switch to the next one. Can you please give me a brief on the path to become a psychiatrist, and what do you personally feel is better, psychiatry or psychology? Shreya, if you're not from a medical background in 11th and 12th, you cannot pursue psychiatry. Psychiatry is a medical specialization which you do after MBBS, which means first you need to get into MBBS. Then you have to go for NEET PG. In NEET PG, based on your merit, based on availability of seats, then you can go for psychiatry in whatever college is available based on your merit. Okay. Psychology, on the other hand, is not a medical profession. Yes, it comes in wellness. It comes under wellness, but not medical profession. And in layman's terms, a psychologist cannot prescribe medicines. A psychiatrist can prescribe medicines. All right. So there's a huge difference in both of them. A psychiatrist in India, you will see psychiatrists don't get enough time to do counseling. Most of the counseling services in India are managed by psychologists. Western countries, psychiatrists also indulge in a lot of counseling. All right. So what you've seen on TV are mostly psychiatrists, but that job in India is done by mostly psychologists. Ma'am, 116, what do we do? There are 79 more messages. I mean, they're all direct messages to me, so probably you are not able to see them. But yeah, I have 82 more messages.
Take 3-4 more questions. If you can just go through that, those which are different and which would really help a lot of students. Just take a couple of more questions, and then I can just suggest the students to post the questions You have given your contact number, they can get in touch with you, they can mail the questions to you, or they can give it to me uh, somehow, and then we can have them answered. Maybe we can fix up another session, but yes,
Sure.
I think in 5-7 minutes we can.
Okay, let's
Or-
take session questions till 1:25 then. Sure, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you. That would
Okay.
be great.
The moment I said that, there were 7 new questions. Okay. What is the scope of graduation in political science and economics? The scope is amazing, especially today. Now, let me tell you separately about political science and economics, because both are separate fields. So political science today, obviously earlier it used to be academics or it used to be civil services primarily. But today, political scientists are needed in think tanks, in political parties, for campaigning and such. If you've heard of Prashant Kishore, he's a political strategist and scientist. If you've heard of Yogendra Yadav, he's also a psephologist, which is basically understanding politics. So a lot of politicians today need expert advice from consultants, right? And that comes under the purview of political science. So if you have seen any American movies on politics, you will see there are campaign managers and there are so many different types of professionals working for elections, right? They all have political science backgrounds. Apart from that, you can get into public policy. So public policy means you are helping the government at various levels, central, state, panchayat, whatever, make better policies. And there are amazing and very sought after programs like Masters in Public Policy across the world. And there are a bunch of new universities which have come up in the last 5 years or so in India, all over India, actually, NCR, Pune, Hyderabad, everywhere, which provide public policy programs. And those guys get recruited directly, either by Government of India or like lateral entry in Government of India. So you get to work with IAS officers, so same level, but from a different direction. Or they work with think tanks, with NGOs, and with human rights groups, with United Nations, World Bank, and so on. Economics, as I explained in the presentation, huge scope. Anyone who wants to get into economic research or managing central banks like Reserve Bank of India and so on, economics is amazing. You can get into investment banking, you can work in the media industry, you can work in various areas. Economics is one of those magical fields which has a lot of scope. I hope that answers your question, baby. Shreya, sir, please tell us a little about the different career options in psychology. I think I answered that. Sir, can we take BCA without math, or it's compulsory? Most universities will accept BCA applications without math. So go ahead, don't worry about it. Sir, could you tell us more about the scope of language in abroad? Depends on which language, but India is a very major player in the world, which means India is one of those hub countries wherein all countries of the world are going to have relations with. Okay, which means if you know Korean, or if you know Swahili, or if you know Spanish, you are useful, because representatives and people speaking those languages will keep on coming to India, whether for business purposes or bilateral relations, diplomatic relations, political reasons, refugee crises, research assignments, whatever you call it, they will need those people. So language is going to be used in those contexts mostly, whether you're directly translating, or you're writing books in translation, or you're helping in translation in social media. So you can be hired by Facebook to create more content. But when you say language in abroad, I want to know which language you're talking about and where are you going to use that language. If you are going to learn a foreign language and then you want to work abroad, you will have to look at regions which use that language, and that language alone will not help you. Let's say you learn French and you want to work in France, great, but at the same time you also need to know Hindi and English, so that they find you useful, so that they can tell you things in French which you can translate in Hindi and English for Indian consumers. Okay, so you need to approach language from that direction. Now, the other aspect of language, apart from translation, and is the science of language, linguistics, which is an amazing field. In fact, there was a podcast I was listening to recently, amazing linguistics, which can tell you about history of language, how language is developed, how human and culture has developed, and if we want to improve language, what we can do, and so on and so forth. So linguistics itself is a different science that it is a very fascinating career option as well. But mostly that is used in academics, mostly that is used in some research areas. It has limited scope, but very fascinating. Then, sir, I want to get into research in psychology. Is there scope in India? A lot of scope, Albin, a lot of scope, but you have to be very clear about the fact that it's a longer journey. You have to go for PhD. Okay. Can you become a fashion designer if you take commerce? Absolutely. It doesn't really matter what you've taken in 11th and 12th. Dear sir, I want to be a cricketer in future. I think I answered that. Please suggest some good colleges in DU for civil services, mainly political science. Sneha, doesn't really matter. You can go into any college you want. I would recommend choose the best college based on your merit so that you get more exposure. Okay. If you want to become a politician, then your ultimate aim is to get into JNU. All right. That is the political hub. It gives you the understanding of what is going on. So a lot of Indian politicians come from universities like JNU. Most of Nepal's politicians come from JNU. You might be surprised to know that. So that is, a power center. Okay. Sir, what courses we can go for in tourism and what is its scope? Tourism, there are dedicated courses, but most of these courses will always be clubbed with, hotel management. So it's better to go for something like that, tourism plus hotel management. Scope is huge. As I said, it's, I think, the second largest employer in India, tourism industry, after farming, I think. And that is why it is going to continue to grow. There are still so many unexplored places in India, especially in central India, in the Hindi-speaking belt, which have not yet become big tourist attractions, but they're going to become big tourist attractions in the next 10 years. Somebody is needed to manage all those, right? So, good afternoon, sir. Would like to know the difference between two courses: Hindi, Patrakarita, and journalism. All right. If I want to pursue journalism in Hindi, which course should I take from both of them? So usually the main universities in Delhi NCR, DU, Jamia, JNU, they have journalism courses in both English and Hindi. All right. So you can choose either of them. So पत्रकारिता का मतलब यही होता है, journalism ही कहते हैं, हिंदी में उसको पत्रकारिता कहते हैं. So that is it. Hindi journalism is a very sought after thing. You will see that most Indian news channels, which are, most profitable ones are Hindi news channels today. All right. Most profitable ones are regional news channels. So regional language. We are at such a stage, which is quite sad, to be honest, wherein we are not able to speak English correctly, or we're not able to speak Hindi also correctly, or any other Indian language correctly. We're all making a mix up of everything. So people having pure knowledge of a particular language, they're always going to be in demand. Whether you choose Manipuri or Telugu or Punjabi, doesn't really matter. Do well in that language and you will always be in demand. Okay. So last question then. If someone really wants to get into IIM, but finance is an issue, okay, does there any scholarship that will help to waive off? I think there are quite a few scholarships available, not directly from IIMs, but from Government of India, from various organizations. You just need to be prepared with the right documents which show that you are in financial aid in need of financial aid. If you're able to produce those documents correctly, you will get assistance in fees. Maybe not 100%, but some relaxation you will easily get because it's in government college. Okay, ma'am. I think that's a good place to stop. Sorry for not taking all your questions. I'm copying all the questions and I'm going to keep them with me. You can contact ma'am, I think, and ma'am can reach out to us, right, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Students, I understand a lot of your questions are still there, and we will definitely fix up another day with sir. Next Saturday, also, we have a session for science stream, and you all are really welcome to join in for that session. And now I would like to call upon Maya ma'am to give us the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone, once again. At the outset, I would like to thank our resource person for the day, Mr. Saurabh Nanda. I want to thank you for the valuable time you have spent with us, throwing light on a plethora of career options, the stream neutral options, and so many of those new offbeat options, as well as the time-tested ones. I hope and I believe that this information that you have shared with us will be very helpful for our students, as well as their guardians, their parents watching the webinar with them. And I'm sure the assistance that you have provided here, the strategies you have talked about, will be of great help for all of them to tide over these uncertain times and to make the correct decision. The questions that were answered have also thrown light on various issues which might otherwise have been left unanswered. I would also like to thank our students and their parents for being such patient and interactive listeners. And the variety of questions that they have all posed is proof enough of the fact that how much of this kind of a seminar was needed at this hour. So I thank our counselor ma'am, Mrs. Prabjeet, for having coordinated this webinar and for having made this possible just at the right time. Thank you all once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me here.